All right, good morning, KW Prosperity. It is Matt and Mary Beth with you today. Happy Monday, Mary Beth.
Happy Monday.
How was your
Happy May.
weekend?
It's May 4th.
I know, May 4th. May the 4th be with you.
That's right. That's right.
I saw
Um,
on TNT they had like a Star Wars marathon on for like 24 hours, so I'm sure I'll get sucked in at some point. How
yeah.
was your weekend?
Well, I mean, weekend was fabulous. The weather was beautiful
Yep,
yesterday, and spent some time with the husband
nice,
and got to see my mom and my sister and the kids. You
awesome.
know, I said I'm breaking this rule. So we went and got flowers and we did some planting and stuff like that. So it was a great weekend.
That's awesome. And you kind of had to this weekend. I mean, it was too nice not to be outside, considering we've been cooped up for over a month.
Yeah, I do, and we were talking about this morning. I do feel people need to still be careful. It was a little cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs out there this weekend
Yep.
with
Yep.
the lift of the parks and whatnot being open.
Yep.
So just please stay careful and wear your protective gear when you go out. And if this is your new normal, great, awesome. Just let's keep with that social distancing so that we don't end up in
Back
another.
where we were,
Yeah.
because we don't want to go backwards right now.
Well, I mean, this is what happens even in our business. We find a little bit of success in something.
Yep.
We get a listing, and all of a sudden, everything that we were doing, goes to the wayside because something worked or something's happening. So, I just it's a natural behavior for us to see a success in something and then want to go towards the shiny object, which is being able to go outside and go to these parks or
Yep.
even guys when it lifts and you're able to leave your house and go into your office. Let's hope that you've created a schedule, that you've created some habits now that
Yep.
keep that schedule consistent, that when this lifts, maybe some of those new great healthy habits that we've put in place stay.
Yeah, and
Okay.
well, and one of the things with that, Mary Beth, I did see that we were talking last week about bold pivot, and we talked about mindset. We were talking about time blocking and schedule, as you were just mentioning. I
Hmm.
think we're at about 25 people who've signed up from our office now for bold pivot. So, we want to get more. Today, you have a coach coming on our COVID call at 3 o'clock today.
I do. I actually, there's two things I want to mention about
Mhm.
today is one, there is a call that is going to be posted out, and if you are interested and you did not get the information, please text Matt or I.
Mhm.
There is a call with Diana Kokoska,
Yep.
and it is happening today at 2 o'clock.
Yep.
So if you don't get the message, it was to be sent out to a certain group. If you don't get the message, please reach out to Matt or I, and we'll make sure you get the information for that call. Diana Kokoska is the person who created Bold,
Yep.
and a great influence in my life as well as Matt.
100. Absolutely.
And then at 3 o'clock, we do have our COVID call, and I would highly, highly encourage, please, I ask you, get on at least the first half hour of COVID. We are going to be discussing some major things that have been happening in our business in the
Yep.
last week, as well as we do have a fabulous head coach, bold guest
Yep.
coming on as well. So please join us
Awesome.
today.
Absolutely. So as we shift back to the MREA, which I have right here, we ended on Thursday with really finishing the Think a Million chapter. So just to highlight a few key points before we go into the Earn a Million, which is really the next, what we're going to head into next. Page
Mm-hmm.
116 and 117, uh, Gary has a conclusion section or really just points to remember. So the main points just remember is how you think matters, work to learn before you work to earn. We talked about the 9 ways a millionaire real estate agent thinks. The two big ones are think powered by a big why and think big goals and big models. And as we shift into the earn a million, having big models and big goals are going to be essential to getting to that next level. Um, we talked about the 80-20 rule, which essentially is that 20% of your focus ultimately yields 80% of your results. And in the real estate business, your 20% will be leads, lead generation, listings, and leverage. And then the last thing on page 117 is just that business people know their numbers. And we really illustrated when we were talking about the 8 ways an MREA sets their goals or sets their expectations. We talked
Mm-hmm.
about that on Thursday. And a big piece of that is just knowing your numbers, knowing your goal numbers versus your actual numbers, and making sure that you're on target with all of those things. So
Great job.
now, as we shift into page 119, which is the Earn a Million section.
I love it.
So, if we look at our book, we've got the leads, listings, and leverage. We got the triangle. We're at the bottom, and I even highlighted the earn right now, which is where
We
we're
must have went to the same class.
Yeah, for like we literally did the same thing without even being together. And so I wanted to start with reading the quote at the top of the Earn a Million section, which says, it's by Seneca, if a man knows not what harbor he seeks, any wind is the right wind.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's make sure you have a plan. Otherwise, you're going to be living out somebody else's plan. There's always a plan.
Yep.
Is it by design, default? And so that's a bold law also, right? Design and default.
Yep.
And if a man knows not what harbor he seeks, where are we headed? What are you looking to get out of this business? And, great time to maybe think about, not all of this is about money. It is also about fulfillment and finding enjoyment in what we do. And so for some of us, if that just clicks and makes sense in this year, and then next year you start working more of the economic model.
Mm-hmm.
First, you must master that think. That's why that think is at the bottom of this triangle, and why it's so wide is because it is absolutely the foundation. So as we go through these next few chapters and concepts and models, I want to keep bringing it back to the think part, because just being human and making this real for everybody who's watching, following along, is the minute that we slip off, and it could be because we had a great weekend,
Mm-hmm.
and we went and did activities that fell out of routine, that then it takes us a while to get back into routine.
Yep.
We have to get the mindset back on that. Wait, I need to do my activities, because even though it was a great weekend, got to get back in the swing of things. It could be a negative thing. It could be that a listing wants to come off the market.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things that Bill said last week that I thought was pretty eye-opening, I hadn't heard someone talk about this. It was very small. He said he is paying attention now more than ever. He never paid attention, same, to temporarily off-market properties.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so
Brilliant.
if you had a seller come off, don't get yourself all out of your mindset. Go back to the thinking like a millionaire, thinking like a business person, get in the right frame of mind, because that's okay. That's just business for later.
Yeah.
And so you can get derailed either way. You could just be in the excitement of stuff, or you could be on the downs of stuff, and you can get derailed. So that's why think at the base of this is so, so important as we move on to earning, because many of you know that if there is no why and fire in the belly, and as I was told by an older gentleman in the business, he just wanted something that he had to put his socks on in the morning to get to work. Yeah. Something that made him want to put his socks on, right? Yeah. And so if we don't have that, then it's very easy to get frustrated that we're not hitting the earn part.
Absolutely.
And it says here, on our focus in this book is up to now has been mostly on insight and perspective. Yeah. Facing your fears and thinking big. And it says we've been studying the art of real estate success, and it's now time to turn our attention to another focus. It's time to be instructional. We've seen the art, now it's time to discover the science. Yeah. Yeah. And yet the arts are so emotional, and yet it's what draws people out of or up to success.
Absolutely. And now they're saying we're going to be shifting into the more instructional part of the book, which is looking at, okay, we did the think part. Now to get to the earn part, we have to look at, okay, what are top agents? What are the people that Gary interviewed in this book. Um, what are they doing to achieve their 20%? What are they doing? What models do they have? And ultimately, page 120, he highlights four fundamental foundational business models. We have, hey, Eric, we have the economic model, the lead generation model, the budget model, and the organizational model.
That's
So
right.
really over the course of the next week and a half, we're really going to be honing in on each one of those models.
Yes. And so with that, somebody had taught me to really look at that triangle, going back to that triangle one more time, is think is the economic model.
Yeah.
We have to do the thinking in the economic model. How much do you want to make? What is your skill set like? What is your conversion ratio? We need to do the thinking for where our business will grow so that we have the game plan and we can work into the science of the economic model. When we get to the earn, we're at earn now, but earn is the lead generation model, the working for it. Okay, it's actually picking up the phone, doing all the lead generation activities to attract the business.
Yeah.
The net is always going to be in the budget. It is never going to be what you're bringing. I've seen some amazing producers literally be negative in their pocket at the end of the year because they've just wasted and spent and didn't hold any dollar accountable. And so when you're netting money, it's because you're mastering or you're in the process of mastering the budget model. And then the last one is receive at the top of the triangle, which is where we all want to get to that pinnacle. And receive is going to talk to the organizational model. And then in the organizational model, the reason we would be receiving it is because we've leveraged through others. And now we have people and systems working for us as the rainmaker of this organization, this business, and I'm able to receive. But don't make any mistake that the person who receives had to start at the think and is still thinking, earning, netting, and receiving.
Wow, that it's amazing. So I've been doing the MREA, been in class enough. I've never heard somebody explain that within the models, they're actually essentially the pillars of the triangle. I love that. That's
That's an
actually
oldie
a
but
huge
goodie,
aha for me.
Eric might have heard it before.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
And page 121, as we talk about the four models, and actually you explained that really well. To be honest,
Let's reiterate it.
yeah. So page 121. So number one, the economic model. It's a formula that shows you how to plug in specific numbers you'll have to achieve in specific areas to receive a specific net income. So when we were talking about the goal setting and the think piece, the economic model is really understanding, really, sorry, I thought we were looking for Eric.
Yeah, I don't know if Eric's in here, but Eric's over there in my box. I'm just
He's
saying.
down below.
It's a matter of, I know that this is Eric's thing in goal setting, and then he does work into the economic model. And Eric, we're not jumping into the economic model because we're going to go into something tomorrow. But touch a little bit about this goal setting and economic model and discussions you have with your clients around it, your students.
So, and I just took you off of mute. I had to mute you for a second, just as you said. And Eric, we're not going into the economic model. And you said talk about the goal because I didn't hear
Discussions that you have around this conversation around economic model and goal setting that you have with your students and your clients when they choose to coach with you.
So the economic model is, it's really cool in that, and we had that conversation today, that you get to map out and put a bullseye and a target on what you're looking to do for the year. And if you know what you're looking to do for the year, you can then say, well, again, some of it has to do with averages. So if you're new in the business and you don't know the averages, you can use another agent's averages or a collective, so I don't want to get too deep into that, but just on the surface, if you say, okay, I want to do 24 transactions this year. Again, you kind of have to have that conversation to say, well, in order to do a transaction, I need to have 75 conversations, right? So,
Well, so to that point, what you're saying is, if you're an agent who has experience and you're able to track and know what your conversion ratios are, and that has to do with skill set, then you can have a conversation with Eric or your coach, and they can help you figure out what those numbers are that you need to plug in to the economic model to make it work. In
Right.
Eric's situation, he's coaching a lot of brand new, just coming out of fresh off the license,
Yep.
near the state license. And so what he's leaning on is, and the book has kind of averaged that out for us, he's leaning on the lower averages of conversion in the model, as far as appointments taken versus I go on appointment and they sign, and I took the listing, what's the chances that it goes to the closing table and you get a commission check? So I hear you saying you're using some of the averages that are put in the book, or ideally, and moving forward, you need to be tracking your numbers so that you have your own averages.
well, yeah. So it's, is that feedback? So yeah, so it's big on tracking. You know, tracking the conversations, the calls, the contacts you have on a daily basis, just so that over the course of say 3 or 6 or 9 months, you could look back and say, wow. And we take ours, you know, for the month. We take ours for the month, and okay, so that was April. So April, I stapled together, and I total on the top of April. Wow, we actually have it on a spreadsheet. So, you know, we don't do it paper-wise, but we have it on a spreadsheet, and we say, okay, I made 256 contacts last month. From those contacts, I had 27 leads. I set 16 appointments, and I went on 9 of those 16, and I took 2 listings. Whatever the case may be. So, you know, it's really simple. Over the course of time, you get to see that if you put X amount of effort in, you'll get a certain amount of results out of that. And then you could take that over for the next year, right? And you say, okay, that year I did that. And you're always going to get better. You're always going to be leveling up. But we look at, you know, like, hey, I want to do 24 transactions. So that requires me to go on or set 60 appointments. And out of 60 appointments, I'll go on 52 or 50. And out of 50 appointments I go on, I'm going to close 30. And out of 30 that I close, you know, 24 will sell. Or 26 will sell, and we'll have a 10% fallout ratio. So the economic model starts to, it's kind of cool in that you can say, okay, here's all I have to do is follow these numbers, you know, connect the dots with the numbers.
Yep.
And do the challenging thing I always find is connecting the think part of it, the foundation. Is it interesting how the think is at the bottom? Because that truly is the foundation of your success triangle, success. I hate to use the word pyramid, but in the success formula, it's
we share the same brain, because that's how I started out this.
Yeah, and so, you know, you think it, map it out during the thought process. You map out through your economic model, which then, of course, helps you create your 135 and then your 411. And then you just go do the work.
So Eric's talking about some tools that we have, and we'll be able to dive into those as well on a different day, to really just show you how to use a 411 or a 135. Once we get to a solid economic model and a lead generation model and a budget and an organizational, then we'll dive a little bit into the accountability of how to stick to the plan. And so Eric is explaining the economic model nicely. It is numbers, it is a system, it is a science. My father was somebody who used to always tell me, you can't compete, but you can. And I'd say, what? I don't know what you're talking about. And he would say, you could always out-bat that guy. We were softball family, right? So if you had a 300 batting average and the other guy had a 400 batting average, well, you could beat the guy with the 400 batting average. You just needed to take more swings. And so it's really a numbers game. It's the law of numbers, the law of averages is what shows up inside of the economic model. Now, the second model is as equally important, if not more. It is the one thing. It's the lead generation model. So, Matt, could you read what that says there for number 2?
Yep, it says the lead generation model, the specific approach you must take to systematically generate a specific number of leads,
Okay.
which ties into what Eric was saying before in terms of his understanding of how many, uh, calls he needs to make and what his conversion rates are. And one of the things I did just want to touch base on that Eric had mentioned, when we're looking at the Millionaire Real Estate Agent book, it's kind of divided into two different ways for all of these models, in that when we talk about the economic model tomorrow, we're really talking about how you can set your goals and like get to what you want to earn. And then a little bit later in the book, they talk about the MREA economic model in terms of how to net $1 million. So we're really, and same with the lead gen model, organization model. So we're looking at it from an individual goal perspective, and then to net $1 million, what you would need to do in order to make that happen.
Okay. So in the lead gen model, the other thing is there's two ways, right, Eric? What are the two ways to lead generate? PM.
Prospecting and marketing.
I'm like, okay, I'm like phones, door knock, boom. I'm like the
He's
actual.
got a lot of them. Those are
right. So prospecting and marketing, and so most agents, when they get into this business, don't come to the business with a bankroll of $25,000 backing them to start their business. If you did, then that's cool. And so the most cost-effective, predictable, and in control is being prospecting based.
Mm-hmm.
And then after you build the flywheel starts going, then you could start to be marketing enhanced. So prospecting, again, is the foundation. Prospecting is, we were talking about this morning, it's not just, yes, I happen to love phone calls. I interviewed the real estate sale school owner, Kyle Kovacs,
Yep.
who strictly did door knocking. He wasn't into the phones. He liked to go face to face. So door knocking, phone calls. Now they're doing text messages.
Well, we're going to dive into a lot of them this week at Lead Gen, so we'll have you back on to dive in a little bit more about the
And I just wanted to say, and then there was that other way, which was what Kurt Wubenhorst talked about, which was like the center of influence with social media and getting people to come to you, which is pretty cool.
Yeah. So there's tons of lead generation activities, and yet there are some models that you're prospecting or marketing, or both, or a little of each when you trigger. And then you also have your METs and your not METs. So you have to categorize the people inside of a database and tagging them. And I think we're going a little bit even more than just METs and not METs, because when we look at our not METs inside of our social world, and now we're all physical distancing from each other. So we've had less of an opportunity to physically meet people. And yet we have these, I guess it's almost like virtual rooms, these virtual conference rooms and virtual parties and virtual groups that we still should be looking at. And some of them, some people I've talked to on Facebook and I've never met them. Yes, they're met. I know about them. We follow each other. We share ideas. We get on conference calls, and yet I've never physically met them. So the lead generation model is going to allow you to really look at the people that you have inside of your sphere, inside of your world, and start to categorize them and look at them as not categorize them as I'm going to sell them something, but categorizing them as how can I help them? How could I help this section of my database? If we look at COVID right now, there's a section of parents alone, period, parents, that have had to homeschool, have had to spend more time at their house than maybe they were used to. And so that alone is a niche that you could talk to about certain things that have nothing to do with real estate. And yet if you become mind share equals market share right now, keep saying that. So if you get the mind share, you'll get the market share. And so there's all different niches that we can work in. In lead generation model, we start to break that down, organize it, and then touch them systematically.
And then, so I was going to say, because the last two are the budget model and the organizational model.
Budget is budget, right? I mean, budget is, we talk about a 30, 30, 40. We'll discuss a little bit of that because that's the new MREA 2 model is the 30, 30, 40 in what you should be netting from your business.
Yeah.
Yep, Eric's got it. Matt's got it. I want to show you mine, guys. That's a lot of years of consulting many different people. Okay, and then the last one is organizational.
Yeah.
And organizational is going to come down to two things. It's, you know, it's systems and it's people. And it says this, the
Getting the right
specifics.
people.
What'd you say?
Getting the right people.
Yes. And at first, you know, you want to make sure your systems are right first.
Yeah. Well,
So
and that's where they talk about, you know, on page 124, 125, hobo shacks versus houses. And he just uses the analogy of a hobo shack is built on patchwork of creativity and ideas. So it looks, you know, very misshapen, very, you know, disorganized and really no foundation versus the house, which is built on solid foundation proven models. So that's just an illustration to highlight why it's important to plug into the 4 models that we're going to be talking about over the next couple of days.
I also want to bring this to a human topic, non-real estate, is I'm going to go back to the diet. I'm going to go back to the weight loss journey, the health journey. If I didn't get it right the first time, am I just going to go, I didn't get it right? You're not going to just say it's built already. It's not. At any point can you say we're starting over again. We're going to take a dive into our economic model. You know, I didn't even know there was an economic model. I'm going to start looking at what this means. So I just want to encourage anybody who says I've already got the people in place. I already know what I know what numbers I'm going to hit. My lead generation, I do this all the time. That's what works for me. I'm going to ask you to just maybe be open to some adjustments and just, you know, be open to just going more towards the model and seeing better success.
Well, and Mary Beth, just to kind of close on that, the last part of this chapter is about a lesson from Warren Buffett. And I think Warren Buffett is universally, you know, respected as you know, one of the, you know, the more brilliant and successful people in our world. He said that he read a book called Security Analysis. It's a classic guide to investing. And he said he's read it, you know, 12 more times and still reads it almost like every year now to really hone in on the systems and models and what was taught in that book. So it's the same with us. You know, for us, this is, I think, the 4th time and probably the 50th time you've read the MREA. But you always get something new from it. You read it from a different perspective. But to Warren Buffett's point is you have to keep hitting and hammering the foundational models, and you have to keep reading and rereading it to make sure you truly understand it.
Time on task over time, and the same man doesn't walk in the same waters, for he's not the same man, and he's not the same. It's not the same water.
Exactly.
It's true for everything. It really is true for everything. And Warren Buffett, with the 12 times, I was also, just to encourage you, I was on Dave Ramsey. My husband and I are taking the Financial Peace University.
Yep.
Just to have some coaching in our financial worlds. And he starts with how one of his friends, who's a very wealthy, you know, multimillionaire, had never taken the course. And even though he felt like he was really had all stuff together, took the course and found that there's a few things that he could do to improve on his financial portfolio. So, you know, there's always that's where we get into the learning based. One of our 6 personal perspectives is always be learning based, and also remove those limiting beliefs. So we're here to encourage both of those. Absolutely. And to get you guys to model and get you up in business, because I feel we're coming out of this.
We are.
Boys,
I agree.
Eric, you're muted. Are we coming out of this?
Coming out of what?
That's right.
Oh, no. Yeah. We are coming out of it.
Yeah, we're coming out of it. So now is a very small window, guys, to get your stuff together. You should have
the market, by the
already.
way, is strong. You know, I'm going to leave on this. I read something. I shared it with our group today. It's from NJ News. It said that the market in listings is down 28.3%, which the headline was really negative.
Mm-hmm.
And the sale closings were only down 5%. And the fact that the market's down 28% as far as listings coming on is really good. It means it's keeping a tight market.
Nice
And
supply and demand.
yeah, supply and demand and everything. If you're working with buyers or anyone who starts working, you're going to see that like you can't. There's multiple offers on almost everything, so you never know.
Yeah, and just to those numbers, I just want anybody who's listening. Some markets are hurting even worse than that, though. You know, so know your local market because some markets are off 60 and 70% of listings on.
This was
But
New
even
Jersey. This was
okay,
New Jersey.
overall, all New Jersey, 28%. Healthy.
NJ.com. So it's not my numbers. All right, guys.
Well, thanks.
All right, Matt.
Thank you, Mary Beth. Tomorrow we'll continue with the economic model. That's page 129. So we'll really be focusing on 129 to I think page 132. So we'll go through, dig a little deeper.
All right. See you guys tomorrow.
Thanks, guys. See you tomorrow.